Cool, so now we've got the servo connectors plugged in. One thing that's kind of a nuisance is these dangly switches. These are used for programming the ESC and turning the ESCs on and off. I like to connect them like here. So there's 3 of them, and we're gonna mount them like that. You have to make sure, especially for this middle one connected to the vertical thruster ESC, you know, it has to be high enough that you have access to it, but low enough that this is going to be able to fit on top without colliding.
Actually, it's easy to, it doesn't really matter, but so for later, for easy access when you're programming the set points of the ESCs, you can kind of stuff 2 on one side. As long as they don't break profile, stick them on either side. That way, you can have the camera still attached, but still access the switches.
Yeah. So you know the camera is this big bulge, and it's going to be like in the middle here.
Okay,
so
just
instead of mounting the vertical one there, we'll mount it so the vertical and the port thruster are both kind of grouped over there.
Right like that.
So Colin and I argue about this all the time. We're like, hey, I like using hot glue. That's what I always say, because I just love hot glue. And then Colin is like, you know, you should use the double-sided adhesive that comes with the ESCs. Okay, I'll be honest, he's probably right, actually. If you want to do this right, you should use these double-sided adhesive squares that came with your electric speed controllers. And I already peeled the backings off of these just to kind of make things easy, but they are like the exact right size. In fact, I think the reason that they're cut to that size is specifically to hold these switches. So I'm gonna mount this like, right about there. I think that's pretty good. And we are gonna have to program these later. We'll tell you how to do that. You have to be able to push this button while turning this switch on and off. So yeah, just kind of keep in mind that you're gonna wanna have access to these. Now here comes the vertical. I'm just gonna put that right there. Do you use the double-sided adhesive for the ESCs too?
Yeah, so as right now, as you can tell in our instructions, the ESCs are free floating, and the thing is the solder, how the wires are all positioned, actually more or less keep the ESCs in that relative position. But if you'd like to hard mount it like I do, you can also there's a larger double-sided sticky tape pad that comes with the ESCs. You can use that to stick the ESCs down as well.
Yeah, or if you're like me and you say the heck with that, that's stupid because it's Colin's idea and Eric Stackpole's ideas are much better. You could just use hot glue, which is actually kind of a lazy way to do it, and maybe the double-sided adhesive.
Yeah, either works.
If you like Colin better, use the double-sided adhesive. If you like me better, use hot glue. It doesn't really matter.
It's a competition now.
They both work. Or say the heck with both of us and just don't use anything, because they'll be in the right place.
Yep. Okay.
So now here comes this part. We're just going to plug the USB cable from the camera into the female USB cable from the extension. Now, if you're into soldering, you have confidence in it, like we mentioned before, you can just chop this wire off and chop this wire and solder them like that, kind of make it a hybrid sort of a thing. That'll save you weight and it'll save you room, but I mean, this is designed so that it can handle having both of them. So, you know, whatever fits your fancy. These are really thin, kind of fragile wires, so if you don't feel confident enough about soldering them, or you just hate to chop a $60 webcam's cable off, you know, we understand where you're coming from. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold this out on the outside at first. Now, I always mount the camera upside down by accident. I've learned to catch myself now when I do that. Remember this, these little screw holes that we unplugged? Those are the bottom of the camera. So this way's down and that way's up. And this is the tightest part in the whole E-chassis. This really has to bend pretty tightly, and it just barely fits. I think I'm going to bend it this way because you can see it'll come out this way. Comes a train passing us by. So, oh train. So here we go. And this is also why you have the heads of the zip ties on this side. Is it all just barely kind of fits in. It's a miracle that these home plug adapters just happen to be the right size.
So yeah, there you go. You can see the jacketing is, I guess the strain relief on the webcam is a little snug, but it pushes up against everything. Keeps everything in place.
Yeah, I mean, even if we didn't secure this down, you can see it's pretty well held. Now, one thing also I didn't do, I'm just going to hold that there. This kind of wants to pop off sometimes, so you may have some extra, you know, blue or purple wire laying around. This is what you use for your motor wires and your battery leads. If you cut off little pieces, you can also use toothpicks or kind of whatever you have laying around, just to kind of make things easier. We've also put these little holes in the sides of the tabs, and they happen to be, well, we made it so that they're the right size, so the diameter of this wire can be used to hold this in place.
Yeah, so toothpicks also work, but wire is easy because it's round.
Yeah.
Yep. So those little pegs hold everything in place.
So now we've got a bunch of extra wires kind of around, and we're just going to clean that up. The way we're going to do it is by just kind of routing it so that they're not in the way. It is a little bit of a messy job, and I mean, this is the part where, you know, we could say how to explicitly do things, but for everyone's case, they'll kind of find a way to make things fit on their own. You can see I'm kind of bundling this stuff up inside here. Now, you don't really need anything to hold it all together. If you manage to kind of have this bundled in a way that you're satisfied with, and you can put it in the tube, things will work out. But if you're like Colin and me, you know, we like having things a little bit more organized. You can try to get something to secure it down. A lot of people have like these Velcro ties, these Velcro straps. You can use this stuff. Actually, I probably should have done this before I put the camera down. Actually, let me take that off. So you can take Velcro ties and, let's see, I'll do it this way. No, it goes this way. Yep. And use this to kind of cinch down all the wires. Alternatively, you can find big zip ties at hardware stores. Like this one is like a 12-inch zip tie, and that would work to, you know, kind of close everything down. Whatever you have laying around, it just helps keep things organized to have something to tie the wires down against the e-chassis. So, okay, now I've put that under there. I'm going to put my little pieces of wire back. Yep. Yep. You have to make that yerp noise when you're putting those in.
It's very important.
Very important. Okay. And you can see this is one of the, it's not the ideal thing to do on camera. I mean, maybe Martha Stewart could do it, but this is kind of just a sloppy thing where you have to kind of just fidget with things until they fit. In the process of putting my camera down, I kind of pushed my home plug adapter out of its spot. There we go. So generally that starts to look kind of together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this down and then shove wires into it after the fact. That'll make things easier. So again, you can see I'm using this little groove that's in the plastic. That's where wires and Velcro can pass through. That's the reason we put that groove there. So those are good. Just get this excess wire out of the way. I don't know, run it through that way. What do you think? That looks pretty good.
Yeah.
These things, you can glue them down if you want. People glue them to this bulkhead. But I find that if you're using a strap like we are, you can just kind of tuck it under. Mostly this is just so that these wires don't get in the way when you're trying to put the acrylic tube down in place. This darn tether, where am I going to put that? I guess I'll route that right here. So you can see what I'm doing. I mean, like, I wouldn't say that this is the way you should do it necessarily. It's just kind of whatever seems to work. So you have just kind of jammed wires in there. So now we've got, looks to be an e-chassis. We'll need to program it now. There's still this whole process we need to do with turning these switches on and programming stuff. But we'll show you how to do that in a different video.
Cool. There you go.
Woo!